Hey one hail, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to round out the entirety of the Aerial Bots team when we look at, the Commander class offering that is Silverbolt, and essentially Superion, since he can be Superion without the other Aerial Bots. I will tell you now, we are not going to put the other Aerial Bots and stuff on here. We're going to do a Superion versus Superion kind of review separately. However, I will give a grade. We will focus on Silverbolt, and when we are near the end of this review, I will do the conversion to the skeleton mode so that when we do the actual Superion review, all we have to do is put the limb bots on. You'll see what I mean when we jump into the latest GotBot True review. Hey one hail, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you are at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit the notification bell, please. Helps me out a ton, let you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that's in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And like I said, this is Silverbolt. He starts out in plane mode, so we're going to start with the big kind of combined plane mode first. We will do the conversion to the little base thing. We'll do the conversion, of course, to robot mode. That's when I'll sort of give him his scores, and then I will show how we go to the kind of combined mode. But we're not going to do any scores or anything there, because we're going to look at Superion versus Superion, kind of, in a separate review on Friday, so that we can really give the combined mode the attention that it so rightfully deserves, honestly. So without any further ado, how about we head over to the table and take a closer look at Silverbolt. And so today, courtesy of our buddy Daryl, we are taking a look at the Commander class Silverbolt. We've already looked at a couple of members of the Aerial Bots, but we have not looked at Silverbolt proper. We will, and I will do the transformation to Superion mode, but we're not going to talk about it. We're going to do Superion and Superion, like we're going to kind of compare the two of them in their own review. But I will get them in the skeleton form because that's a good place to kind of leave this guy off, so to speak, right? And this is the box for him. Over here we have him in his robot mode, his plane mode over here. Right here, some Superion goodness. Over here, our usual Age of the Primes artwork. And of course on the back we have Superion, Silverbolt. We have the big mode, I'll call it turret mode, I suppose. I do, however, like on the, I gotta turn it around again. I do, however, like on the top of the box here, we have like the entire kind of display of all the primes, like that artwork that we see bits and pieces of on the side of the box. We have the whole thing here. I think that's pretty neat. We got a huge two-sided giganto sheet of instructions, mostly because it shows, I guess the plane mode, the souped up plane mode, the robot and turret, and of course the Superion mode. There's a lot that this guy does. Now, this is one of those cases where we actually have the guy in his alt mode in the packaging first. So that's where we're going to kind of start. I have both put together, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but this is the gigantoid plain version, I suppose you could say. And I've heard a few people say, hey, the way that they see it is when it's just the plane proper, that's like his Earth mode plane. When it's connected to all of this junk here on the back, that's like when he's going to go into space. It's like an amped up, like more like a, I don't want to say space shuttle because it's not that, but it has, I guess more thrust, more whatever you would need to travel through space. I think that that's a fine enough way to explain it, because unlike Motormaster, where you could take all this extra junk of the skeleton and make a suitable trailer out of it, that was going to be a lot harder to handle. That method of combining was going to be a lot harder to handle with Silverbolt because he's a plane. He doesn't have a trailer. But I think that this actually kind of works. Is it big? Is it goofy? Yes. But does it look pretty seamless overall? Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Actually, I got one thing not done. and I apologize for this, because that should be opened up, and it looks a little bit like an Autobot symbol. My bad, I didn't have that done. I'll also note now that when you are putting this back section together for the plane mode again, make sure that you have this positioned correctly. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble putting this piece on, which is his blaster, basically, because there is a peg hole, and it does go down over a peg to hold it here solidly. But you got to make sure that that peg is visible from here, and that the little tab that's on is flipped out and kind of poked down to two holes there. Easy to kind of forget that. I'll also note now, and you may have already noticed on Daryl's, this here. This is a misassembly issue. It doesn't really affect much of anything. It is upside down, and to fix it you would have to pop out the pin that's down right here. I don't know if Daryl is going to do that. It doesn't really affect anything, and you really only notice it in this mode because otherwise it's folded in. I think if this was mine, I would have to try and fix it because this would bug me to no end. But does it functionally affect anything? No. It is. If you're going to have a misassembly, that's about the best misassembly that you could have, I guess. Now, that said, there's not much to say about this. This is the way it comes in package. By the way, the actual Superion blaster plugs up underneath the nose cone. When combined with all of this, we get the Silverbolt blaster's up under the nose cone. When combined with all this, we get a big Superion blaster that, you know, Silverbolt can use, but it's gigantic. It looks a bit silly with them. I don't think there's anything left to say here, so I'm going to actually fold these back up, and I'm going to lift up the wings, because the wings do tab down in over tabs right here. There's little sections up under here that go down here. I'm also going to fold in the tip of the wing and the tip of the wing. By the way, if you leave those folded in for the regular Superion mode, and it's your choice if you fold them out or leave them in. But if they're left folded in, these now cannot go down over these little tabs in the combined mode. So those little tips need to be folded out. Besides that, what we have down here is a couple of red tabs that the thighs of the plane are locked into. So we're going to pull that apart, right? And that's kind of where we're to. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Silverbolt out of it for now, and we'll get to him in just a little bit. And we're left with all of this. I'm going to kind of adjust things ever so slightly, and then we're going to turn this into the, I guess we'll call it weapon embankment next, and then lay that aside. I guess just give me a moment to kind of get things reoriented the way I want them. I don't know if this will work completely. We will see. First things first, pick this off. This is the peg I was talking about. And this is just a little flap, and you use it a few times. Sometimes it goes folded in, sometimes it stays out, but it's easy to put all this together and plop this on and forget that you got to fold this little tab out. So this here, once you take it off, you can fold it out. There's a little handle up there that's where is it? No, this side, sorry. Fold that straight. There's a little handle up here that's a nuisance to get out. And you can even take the Silverbolt blaster and put it in the front here to give you a great big Superion blaster. We'll see that a bit later. So I'm going to lay that off to the side for now. And we're going to begin by folding in this and folding in this. We're going to come over here and I'm going to lift this up. And I'm going to lift, hopefully, this up. Though I do find once it's in, it's a bit of a nuisance because it does lock in tight. I'll give credit where credit is due. I just pulled that off in trying to pull this off. In pulling this off, we have two rectangular slots here on the pelvis that go over two pegs here. In terms of this chest piece that I pulled off, and this is my fault, it just goes back on like that. It's not a big deal. This here folds in. This stands up. Do I have this? Hold on. Do I have this done right? I do not. So this doesn't actually fold in. You actually keep it folded back, and then this folds down over because it's going to end up like this on the front. We have, oh, by the way, if you really wanted to, you could also take your deluxe planes and put them on here because that's where they're going to go. This is the arms anyway, so like this is kind of where they go in the combined mode anyway. You can do that, I suppose, if you want. It's a bit weird, but you can certainly do it if you want. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, what we do with this is we take these, I call them, I guess, leg pieces, and they fold this way and this way. And when we do it, we're looking to have these ports, these rectangular ports, out so that they can actually line up with these bottom ones here and plug in. It's a bit of a nuisance to line them up, I do find. Actually, maybe it's this way. Haha, there you go. Sorry, my bad. You can even fold these in too if you want. I forgot that this goes turned around. They still now go in the bottom ones. My bad. My mistake. See what I mean? Like I gotta get in closer to be able to see this. It's too far for me to be able to do it, but you see what you're doing. You're taking those two little openings and putting them over this so that it looks like this. And voila, I got it on now. Up here, those two starts that we used earlier to attach this to the plane mode, we now use that in these two little openings up here by the handle. I've seen reviews where that really snaps in, and I have seen ones where it doesn't. On Daryl's, it doesn't really snap in, it just sort of loosely rests there. It'll stay, but it doesn't take much to knock it off, right? Like you just saw there, right? Did not take much to knock it off. I don't find that a very solid connection, honestly. And I put the front blaster in, which is Silverbolt's actual blaster. So this is kind of like an embankment, I suppose. It's okay. I mean, I guess if you were in battle, you would like to have this. But for now, we're going to lay this aside and focus on Silverbolt proper. Okay, so for Silverbolt proper, again, I mean, it's a robot under a plane, as Silverbolt always is. We're going to open up, at least we should be able to. There you go, open that up, this folds in. Even though it's misassembled, it still kind of closes up correctly. We can come back here, and I guess we could pick this off too. This needs to also come up. I don't really like this because I do find that it likes to stay kind of down under there, and it's a bit of a nuisance, I find, to sort of wiggle it up out of that. There we go. I got it now. And I bring that up. I also bring this back, down and over. Just like that. We're also going to take the wings for now and lift them up out of the way. By the way, all of this being done, we'll see later for superion mode anyway. Okay, so now that we kind of got all of that up out of the way, we can deal with the actual robot bits that we have to deal with. Starting with the legs, and we bring them all the way down. And the other leg, we bring it all the way down. We untap it from there, take it off of the wrist, we bring it all the way down. Then we come to the heel, and it has a little tab, and we open out the heel, and we bring the foot all the way down to the bottom. We do the same over here. We bring out the heel, foot all the way down to the bottom. We can even turn these so that they're facing what will be the front of the robot. And this is sort of going off screen. My apologies. I'm going to stand our guy up so we can do the rest of the transformation. Okay, so the legs, of course, they unattached from here. They folded down. We brought out the feet and we just straightened them out. I like the legs. I think that's a pretty elegant way of doing it. Honestly, the Combiner Wars one is very similar in how it comes down on the sides. But the arms and stuff, very different. The Combiner Wars one, like they're sort of out to the side and a little more hulking. Here they compact in the body, and I think I do like that. So we open up the chest, and we bring out an arm, and we fold down an arm, and we fold out a hand. We bring out an arm, we fold it down, and we fold out a hand. If you're cute and you want to be funny, you can even now close this back up and turn the superion head around, and doesn't that look cute but ridiculous? I call this a super deformed version, right? Okay, so we're actually going to bring the chest piece. Oop, hold on. Make sure I got this done. We're actually going to bring the whole chest piece down again. We're going to bring out the Silverbolt head. We're going to take the superion head and we're going to collapse that all the way down and in. Now, the trickiest part, these two antennae need to go into these two little slots here. If they are not lined up, then the chest will not close right. From this angle, I don't anticipate being, no, I can't close that properly. But that's the last part to do. I'll do that in a second. Basically, bring that up on the back. Basically, boom, in the end here we have Silverbolt in his robot mode. I just got to solidify this by making sure those antennae are tucked in the correct way. All right, now that I've got the chest solidified, let's start giving good old Silverbolt here a few scores. Let me just, there you go, there you go. So, first things first, the transformation. I'm going to say 9.5. It's pretty great. You saw me make a couple of slight mistakes there that were my fault, of course. But that's because there's so much going on with this guy that sometimes you're going to forget a step here or there. So I'm going to say 9.5. It does work well. The biggest issue that I found is trying to make sure that you have those antennae of the superion head lined up with those holes in the chest. And I get that we have to do kind of the same thing with the Combiner Wars version. And I don't find it comfortable there either. I don't like when you got to feed something as thin and fragile as antennas into a slot, basically, because it's a little uncomfortable for me. So I'm going to say 9.5. Let's do the coloration for the guy. Starting from the feet, working our way up. The feet should be black. The legs should be gray. The red here on the outside shouldn't be there, but I get that it's part of the chest, so I'm okay with it. This molded in square here should be yellow. The thighs and the biceps should actually be a yellow, kind of like the Unite Warriors yellow that was used on Silverbolt. This is more like the Combiner Wars orangey yellow that was used. Although, that said, I think I like this shade of yellow, personally, better than the bright yellow. I always thought the bright yellow was very, I don't know, eye-popping, I suppose. The shape of the wings behind, that's correct. The black hands, the gray biceps, I guess. That's all correct, as is the molded in lines on the biceps. The gray, I guess, wing on the shoulder, I actually colored the molded in Combiner Wars ones silver because they were just left black, so I actually prefer that this is done. The Autobot logo up here on the chest should be in the middle of the chest. The red on the chest, though, is correct. There should be yellow down here just under the tummy. That's not there. The head is correct. This is pretty darn good. It's not perfect, but it is pretty darn good. I'm going to give it a solid 9. I'm going to say a 9. So we had a 9 and a 9.5. 9.25. Let's do the articulation for this guy. We have a head that goes left and right, can look up and down. The wings can get out of the way, which is wonderful so that you can do a full rotation of the arm, full T-pose. We can have a little over 90 degrees at the elbow, or if you're so inclined, you can have 90 degrees all the way backwards too if you want to do that. Bicep swivel. Sadly, nothing at the wrist. Other than, I guess, being able to go down to fold in, but no wrist rotation. We do have a waist. It's hindered, but it's there, and it will give you a bit of a natural range of motion that I think is acceptable. Hips go all the way out, right? Full splits to the side. If you pick up the front skirt all the way forward. By the way, in plane mode, if you flip up these front skirts, there's molded in landing gear there. Just like the back of the head of Superion is a molded in landing gear. I don't know if I had those out in plane mode or not, but they should have been if they weren't. Ankle tilt, thigh rotation, a knee. If you use both hinges, you can get well over 90 degrees. I don't know if you would call it a cheat or not. I don't. I just call it good articulation. Hip skirt down. And I think I said T-pose out to the side. And really, everything on the back here is pretty darn compact. I'm going to say that the overall score for the articulation, I wish we had a wrist. That's it. I'm going to say 9.75. Right now, I'm going to say that the overall score for Superion is a 9.5. I would say a 9.5 is an excellent score for this Superion. I would say a 9.5 is an excellent score for this Silverbolt. Great articulation, a largely accurate look. Not perfect, but largely accurate. And they did the best I think they could at figuring out a way to incorporate all of the extra bits that will eventually become Superion. Now, as I say all of that, those are the scores for Silverbolt. The other question worth asking is this actually a commander class value? Well, I've already talked about, you know, the transformation and the articulation and the parts and all of that. This also clocks in at a good and hefty 660 grams of plastic. That is absolutely in the ballpark of commander class value. It is more mass than, say, Skyfire, Jetfire. It is less than the biggest one, being Skylynx. It's more than Ultra Magnus. It's more, I believe, than Optimus. And I think it's more than Rodimus. I think Rodimus was 600. So yeah, he's a great commander class value. He's a great Silverbolt. That's where kind of the review for this guy sort of ends. But I also promised you guys that we would put this into the skeleton mode so that when we do look at Superion separately, I'll already kind of have the base here put together. So this is going to be Superion's blaster. We're going to lay that off to the side. We're even going to take all of this for now off to the side, and we have to get this guy prepared to be, I guess, the upper torso basically of Superion. I don't want to belabor this because honestly we're basically putting him back into kind of the mode he was before when he was a plane, where we fold those back, we flip this out, we pick up the head and turn it around. There is a little tab here, by the way, so we'll fold this in, and the little tab does go into a little notch there. We're going to also fold in this arm, we're going to fold in that arm, they click into place. These Silverbolt head should go in between this space, and the whole thing should close up nice and snugly around the top. And I didn't get that head caught, and that's where I have a challenge with kind of doing this part. There you go, I got it in there now. I leave all of this back. It's up to you if you want to open it out, I suppose, but I kind of leave all of this on the back for now. I'll pick that off there as well for now. And I'm picking this off for now because you're going to have to do it later on. Why? Because do you remember that peg that I talked about earlier? And it was a little flap, and I said sometimes it's out and sometimes it's not. It will go up here to help peg into a hole up here later on. So I might as well have that left out now. We're going to close in the feet. We're going to turn the legs sideways thusly like this. Using the upper hinge, we're going to bend there. And then we're going to take the whole hip up over. Oh, and the foot also has to come down. So we're going to take all of that up over. For now, it should be able to go in over the arm section, and we should be able to push it all the way in to be a part of the chest. Then, on this side, we're going to do the same thing. Use the upper joint, bring this all the way up over. I do find that sometimes you got to sort of, finagle it to fit it in, and then take the foot to come down. That'll be a shoulder later on. This right here, this compact piece right here with this lifted off the back right now is basically all that we do with Silverbolt proper to make him ready for Superion. Let's get to the other chunk that gives us the bulk of Superion. And as you can see, we have what will become the bulk of Superion here. We're going to take this section off, and this whole section here, basically you open this out, leave this down for now. This is the part I was talking about that will, if you use in plane mode, these two pieces kind of flop down and go into two slots in plane mode, and then this folds down behind this peg so that you can put the blaster over that peg. For Superion, also for the I guess this base mode, you also leave this folded down because that's what it rests on. But for Superion mode, we're going to open this up. When we drop Silverbolt in here, we're going to close this up over. In fact, why don't we put Silverbolt in here now? Because why the heck not? So we put Silverbolt in there, and it really kind of tabs in a bunch of spots on the front. And then down here, in behind this wing, we take this, and we should be able to fold it up into place to hold all of the body secure. We will also then bring down a leg and turn it around. Bring down a leg. Oh, I didn't quite tab that in. My bad. And turn it around. I thought I had it in that peg hole in the back. I guess I did not have it quite in the peg hole in the back because not for nothing, once it's in there, it is pretty darn solid. So we have all of this kind of torso done. We're going to lay this aside because we still have to get the arms and the legs apart. So we're going to lay that over there. Now, when it comes to this, easiest way to look at this is probably from this side. We're going to detach that and detach that. These are going to be the arms. We put out a wrist. We bring this down and straighten it up. And we bring this out and we straighten up. We've seen this before with the parts of Menosaur. And I don't know what you do with this. It doesn't really say. Open it, close it, whatever. So we're going to take that and lay it there. Of course, this is the exact same thing. We bring it out. And ideally, what you're supposed to do is have the plain lads on the arms here. And then you should split the arms and it splits the plain lad. Because this little black thing should go up in the tummy and do the job. Much like with Menosaur, I don't really find that works. So, I don't know, I can't get it to work. It's a gimmick that I have yet to get to work. So we're going to take those, and they're there. And then we have these. And these are the leg sections. We fold up this piece and a peg, and then push that little black tab in to lock this in place. We fold up the gray piece and the combiner peg. And again, we push that little black tab into place. We close that over. We close that piece over. And as you probably already expected, we split those. They're very solid. We bring down a foot. And we bring down a foot. And now we have two legs. By the way, though I'm not going to show it, I have seen it tested. If you want to use the Combiner Wars legs on this Superion, you can. They do fit into the leg ports, but he's way shorter because they don't have the extra build out around to give that extra height. So he does end up looking a bit weird, like the arms will hang down too low and the body looks a bit weird and a bit too big for the legs. So make of that what you will. Okay, since we got it here, I might as well, even though it's off screen, I might as well put in a leg and put in another leg. And obviously, he's gone off screen. I'm going to have to readjust the camera so we can attach the arms. Okay, now that we got this done, we can take our two arms and they basically go down over Silverbolt's feet. Right, so right there, push down. Right here, push down. Now what I have learned, and I'm going to point this out now, and I'll probably point it out in the actual Silverbolt review. What I have learned is I struggled with Menosaur to get these off, and somebody came and said, hey, if you lift the arm out and pull up, it'll come off. And I was like, wow, that's kind of genius actually. I did not know that. So I'm glad that I do know that now. But in the end, boom, here we have the skeleton of Superion in his robot mode. My initial thoughts of this, I think getting it together and getting here is pretty easy. It's not too bad. I think I like the feel of this in hand a bit better than I did with the Menosaur. I do think that the ratchets have been toleranced better. Like this doesn't, like it's still a good ratchet, but it's not as heavy as it was on Menosaur, or at least on mine. And I'll be curious to see how that affects the arms, because one of the problems and gripes I had with Menosaur is that when you had the bots on the arms, the ratchets were so tight that when you would move the arm, the bots would fall off. And I'm like, man, it's not much good to combine if you're just gonna literally fall apart. But we'll talk about all of the coloration, we'll talk about all of the stuff when we actually put the bots on him. Silverbolt is an excellent Silverbolt, every bit a Commander class value. He's fun all by himself if you don't even want the rest of the bots. If you're like, man, I just want him to be as big as a Gestalt, but I don't need all of the other aerial bots or whatever. He's an excellent Silverbolt at a 9.5. As for Superion, I guess we'll see. But for now, this is how we're going to leave Silverbolt. The next time we see him, it will be during the Superion actual review, where I will talk about all of my kind of deep-rooted thoughts about this guy then. For now, enjoy the glorious 9.5 that is Silverbolt. And here we are once again, and here he is kind of... You'll notice I don't actually have Silverbolt in my hand like I normally do, because right now Silverbolt is in his combined form, so you'd really only be looking at the skeleton of Superion. So I'm going to use the box as my frame of reference here. When we talk about the big combined jet mode, yeah, it's weird, it's goofy, but it's solid, it holds together quite well, and honestly, I kind of dig the idea that others have come up with where, you know, the base plane is his like Earth plane mode, with the back on it's like a spacefaring mode. I'm cool with that, and it is pretty seamless for the most part. Also easy to detach when you want to do that. When we look at the plane mode and the robot mode, it is an excellent Superion. Granted, the orangey yellow should be more of a yellow if we want to be animation accurate, but I like I said, I like the deeper orangey yellow better. I like it better in Combiner Wars too. When I look at Combiner Wars versus Unite Warriors, I really prefer the deeper, like almost orangey school bus yellow over the really bright yellow. So I think that that was a wise choice. Well articulated, good, solid, hefty in hand, and a great looking plane, even if the nose was misassembled and put on upside down. I don't know if Daryl is going to pop the pin for that, but I guess we will see with time. Luckily, it doesn't affect anything. I think that if you are going to not have a trailer of some sort, and you have to find a way to incorporate the skeleton, doing it as this like base type of thing, probably the best way to go. You know, I don't really know how else you would have really been able to successfully deal with it. And essentially, all you're doing is removing this chunk, taking the whole thing and putting it up on its end, and then putting that chunk back on in a slightly different configuration. And I mean slightly different. But I think it works. I do wish that the big blaster up here on Daryl's copy snapped in better than it does. But that's the results will vary. It's a tolerance thing. In terms of being a Silverbolt, it's excellent. It's really excellent. It is well balanced. It is well articulated. It has huge feet. I like the Combiner Wars, but I'm not going to lie. While I'm okay with my Combiner Wars, and that's what I'm going to keep, this is definitely a better Silverbolt. No doubt about it. As a set of aerial bots, all 5 are tremendous. As a Superion, I guess we'll see in the next review. For now, let me know what you think about Silverbolt here. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button. Stick around and have some fun with us here on the channel. And don't forget, not for a moment, not for a second, that you right there, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old fashioned way right here inside the videos.